a privacy policy exists to comply with privacy laws. A privacy policy basically is a document that explains what personal information you're collecting through your website, who you're sharing that data with, why you collect that information, and various other disclosures regarding your privacy practices. A privacy policy should provide the exact disclosures you're required to make under the privacy laws that apply to you. So privacy laws dictate what your privacy policy should say. So your very first step is to find out what laws apply to you, because only then can you determine the disclosures you're required to make. A terms of service, otherwise known as terms and conditions or terms, it is a document to help limit the liability of a website owner. Terms will basically explain the rules to using the website. I love a terms of service for virtually any website for little disclosures like third-party link disclosures. Simply adding that disclosure in your terms of service saying, hey, we offer links to third-party sites. We're not responsible when you click on one of those links. So if you click on that link and you get hacked on some other website, we're not responsible. A terms of service is a series of disclosures like that help limit your liability when offering a website for visitors to come check out. And a terms of service can also be very valuable if you have like an e-commerce website and you want to explain your shipping policies, your refund policies, cancellation policies. So it can actually be required for consumer protection laws, but in general, it is just a measure to limit your liability by explaining the rules to using your website. A cookie consent solution is a mechanism to capture consent prior to letting non-essential cookies be put on a user's browser when that user's visiting your website. So some, not all privacy laws require this type of consent. As we all probably know, GDPR, but not a lot of people talk about the UK Data Protection Act, PIPEDA, CPRA, which used to be CCPA, and Virginia's new VCDPA. So all of those laws in particular have particular requirements into getting consent first prior to, tracking users or implementing just non-essential things into their browser or on the website. And what this goes back to is what I was sharing in the earlier, which is that you have to find out the laws that apply to you, because only then can you determine if you need a cookie consent solution or not. And it's also important to note, not all consent solutions are built equally. A banner that just says we use cookies and then you just have a single accept button is absolutely not compliant with any of those privacy laws I just mentioned. You need to have a mechanism in place where by default, those website visitors are not tracked. They don't have non-essential cookies being put on their browsers, and only if they accept do you let scripts fire and put non-essential cookies on the user's browsers. So these are the three main, if I had to have you learn a couple things, it would be this, feel free to take a screenshot of it. But I feel like this is just the basics of policies. And I feel like an agency can learn these facts and feel a lot more confident when just talking to clients just in general about why these exist. With the basics kind of a little bit more understood, I think what comes to play is getting documentation in place for your business. And what I mean by that is making sure that clients understand it is their responsibility to comply with laws, not yours. That is something that's kind of like a divide in the road I'm trying to create here for agencies, which is that it's important to be able to educate clients about these regulations, especially if you're building a website for them that's collecting regulated data like names, emails, IP addresses, potentially sharing that data with their email service provider or email marketing providers like MailChimp or Constant Contact. Having that documentation in place ensures that the client has agreed and understood that it's their responsibility to comply with the laws, not yours. You're just helping them support their website. If you don't have contracts in place, you really need to consider getting that in place. I know a lot of people will spin off branding, like for branding purposes. They'll be like, oh, we don't have contracts. And that's supposed to be like a sales pitch. Personally, I don't think that's a good strategy for our industry. I think having a clear set of rules and understandings together is the most beneficial. And, if you're sitting there being like, oh, well, this is going to be so expensive. Well, it's probably going to be more expensive if things go wrong in a project you don't have a contract for. There are attorneys that I'm sure you can reach out to in your local area that can help assist you with that. And then there's products online that you can buy, like monstercontracts.com, which are affordable alternatives to getting contracts set up for your business. There's also waivers. Sorry for the plug here, but Termageddon, we offer a free waiver, but you don't have to use or recommend Termageddon. This is just a free asset I want to give to as many agency owners as possible. And it's basically the website policies waiver that I link here is a document that explains to users what website policies are, why they may be required by law. And at the end of the waiver, the client signs acknowledging that first and foremost, you're not responsible for the website policies, but then they have a choice to, hire their attorney and send you the policies when they're done, or to use a tool like Termageddon to get their policies generated, or to choose to do nothing, and they can sign off on that. And why I like that documentation in place is because it gives your clients the ability to make a choice. It's their decision if they want to comply with laws or not. But as a professional agency, you want to get that documentation in place to ensure that, if anything does happen in the future and then they get fined or sued and they come back to you saying, why didn't you tell me about this stuff? You can hold up that waiver and be like, you signed this saying you don't want policies. So I think it's just a wonderful way to protect yourself while building websites for clients that will be hopefully the sites will be live for years, but that means it will be facing the future privacy laws as well. So get documentation in place, and this type of documentation will provide that education to your clients so that they can make educated decisions on what they want to do for their business.
If you enjoyed this video and want more actionable strategies to grow your business, then you have to check out our new playlist, Tips for Agency Growth. It's filled with previous Web Agency Summit talks and actionable tips you can implement right away. My name is Atarim, and I'll catch you in the next one.